The next thing I want you to do is practice your color blending and your color mixing. So all I'm asking you to do for this is to create the secondaries with your primaries. So on your next small sheet of paper, you're going to be creating green, orange, and purple. So what I'm going to do for this, I'll start with green. So green, we should know, is made from blue and yellow. So I'm going to start by creating two ends. My blue on one end and yellow on the other, and I want to see them mix in the middle. Color mixing can get finicky because since blue is such a dark hue and, oops, I didn't want yellow in that. Since blue is such a dark hue and yellow is such a light hue, you only need a tiny bit of blue to create a green when mixing it with yellow. I am making a mess out of my palette. I'm gonna add more water so that these blend. And again, I'm gonna try to manipulate this until I do have a nice blend here. I don't know if you can see this, but the yellow is sitting kind of opaque on top of my blue. So I do want that to look a little bit more mixed rather than like yellow is just sitting on top. So this would be mixing in your painting. You are welcome to mix your colors into your palette if you want to do that beforehand. But just know that when, you know, two wet watercolors touch each other in your painting, they will mix and they will create whatever color, you know, they create together. So if it's complementaries, be careful because it will create a muddy color. So it's a good lesson. I'll probably touch on it, but when doing watercolor, you do want to jump around your painting to let wet parts dry, because if you don't want colors to mix, you kind of can't stop them once they get started. So now that I have this color mixing going on here, and honestly, it's not the prettiest green, so what will happen is I'll probably just end up using the one out of the palette. Although I do recommend trying to use your own colors. Using colors straight out of like the tube or straight out of a palette, it makes it look really commercialized, and when we mix our own colors, it looks a little bit more real. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to actually be creating the tertiaries. So tertiaries are blue-green and yellow-green. So blue-green is more blue than yellow. So I started with a blue circle and I'm mixing in a tiny bit of yellow. Tiny bit of yellow over top green. Oops. As you can see, it does look kind of green. I'm sorry if the lighting is bad, but it's darker than it is light. I'm trying to make sure my brush is clean so that when I lay the yellow down, it's actually a pure yellow. So yellow, green, we'll start with a yellow circle, and I'm gonna pick up just a tiny bit of blue. It's already a lot. There we go. I'm actually gonna play with this a little more so it looks more blue than green. It might look different as it starts to dry. But now these are both technically greens. This kind of looks like a dark teal, but it's definitely more blue. And this is a very yellow shade of green. And you're gonna do the same thing with the rest of the primaries and secondaries. This is good to really be patient, because unfortunately, unless you're using more than one brush, which you totally can, you definitely need to make sure your brush is clean. I did not do this, and you can kind of see I'm struggling to keep my brush clean, but you might want to take a break and get a fresh cup of water as well as a new paper towel to keep yourself from muddying up your colors with the dirty water. Kind of watery in the middle. All right, and this will probably, again, take some playing with before you're happy with the mixture and the blending. So again, I got my purple here, so we'll go with a blue violet. It's a little too much water. Actually gonna soak that up. Okay, it's a little bit more like it's pigment. Take a little bit of red. And now I have a really deep purple. Now I start with my pure red. Got a little bit of blue. Okay. And again, we got two different forms of purple. One is more red, so red violet or red purple, and then blue violet. And lastly, I'm going to be making orange. Kind of just pushing the color into the red. I don't know, it's working for me. Okay. Last couple things. A little bit of yellow to make my red orange. Wash my brush off well. Oops. A little bit of red to create my yellow orange. Okay, so there you have it. By the end of this, you should have your 6 value scales, as well as your mixed secondaries and your mixed tertiaries.